Welcome to the Emerging Lawyer series at the Coffee Conversation Show, powered by the Emerging India Forum, TEIF, and a tech partner, Prime Infotech Solution. Theme is Beyond Compliance and General Counsel's 22-year legal legacy. We have with us Debasish Roychowdhury, General Counsel and Head Legal Compliance and Secretarial at In-Solutions Global Ltd. From spearheading legal operations across FinTech, BFSI, and global consultancy firms to championing governance, data privacy, ESG, and risk mitigation at scale, Debasish brings not just experience but foresight into the evolving role of legal leadership in the digital age. And he's also a keynote speaker. So let's explore Debashish's personal journey and the various works he has done in the 22 years. So that's very impressive for a corporate legal. And welcome today, Coffee Conversation, Debashish.
Thank you very much, Amir. I think I'm indeed grateful to you that you have considered me for this particular discussion. Thank you very much for that.
Okay. So let me explain you the flow and the format, Debashish. There are 3 rounds. Professional journey, personal journey, and a surprise that is a rapid fire round.
Okay.
For which you will be in the hot seat and you have to be witty, fun, and quick. And here's your gift, Legal AI 101.
Okay.
Done.
But I'll wait for it.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So friends, I'm Lion Amir Virani, host at Coffee Conversation and a legal tech evangelist at Prime Infotech Solution, author of 15 books. We help law firms, corporate legal, startup, SMEs with world-class technology solutions and tech training. So friends, we are at AWFI's co-working space and let's begin. So Debashish, my first question for your professional journey round, how was the journey shaped up and what were the key defining moments you had?
Thank you, Amir. I think it's a very pertinent question. And as far as my journey is concerned, so probably I'm a lawyer and a governance professional more by accident than by a choice. But whatever the kind of reasons might be, but I'm extremely thankful and I consider myself fortunate that I'm in this particular profession because legal is a ever-evolving field, and the way the things are shaping up now, which we'll be having more discussions during the course of this session. So this is something which is extremely important. As far as my journey is concerned, Amir, so I've started as my background as a company secretary. So by qualification, I'm a qualified company secretary, LLM and MBA in finance. So when I took that opportunity to start my career as a company secretary, so the first thing which really stuck with me was with respect to all the governance, legal and regulatory mechanisms which you need to look into as a company secretary. Although at times company secretary role becomes very specific in terms of board, management, meetings, notices and all. But the moment you go into the key aspects, then it becomes all the more interesting. One of the significant things like how it has shaped my career basically is that when as a company secretary, I started attending meetings, the board meetings and the committee meetings and all. So all the strategic and governance discussion which used to happen. So that really kind of emboldened a kind of confidence in me and a kind of a strategic framework in my mind that I can definitely look into the larger aspects, the legal, governance, compliance as a whole, and not only the company secretary piece. So that really kind of shaped up my career so far. And the first 10 years of my career was more into the aspects of governance, compliance and all. And the next 10 years, actually 10, 12 years, actually I was more into the governance, compliance, legal, regulatory, entire pieces which are happening now as a general counsel. So that is where I'll want to sum up my career so far. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So Debashish, what is it like navigating the regulatory landscape for payment aggregator and payment gateway licenses in India?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most difficult questions to answer, but it's one of the most important questions also. So look, Amir, like if I go through my journey so far, like I have worked across different industries.
Yeah.
Now, specifically with payment aggregator and payment gateway, So this is something which I am kind of got involved with while my tenure with ISG, because it's a fintech entity. Now in fintech mechanism, if you see the entire PA and the payment aggregator, which is called a PA, and the payment gateway, what we call as PG, basically is regulated by RBI. Now RBI has kind of given a framework, kind of structure, the regulatory compliances mechanism for how you handle this entire PA-PG thing. Now, there are three parts to it actually. The first part, obviously, when you apply for a PAPG license with RBI, so what are the checks and balances, what you need to do, what kind of audit you need to undergo, what kind of infosec compliances you need to see, what the legal and regulatory compliance you need to see. That's the first part. The second part was obviously after you get the license, is that like how you kind of do all those compliances, the reportings, the audits, the quarterly, monthly, and annual filings with RBI. And they also like to see that how you're growing your business through those licenses. So it's an evolving journey, because our organization has received these licenses few months back, and we are kind of structuring the entire steps and pieces, and that's a wonderful journey so far with this
Wow.
PAPG piece and all. Yeah.
Very good. So thank you for leading me to the next question. As you said, you have led multidisciplinary exposure across fintech, FMCG, ITES, global consultancy. How does the exposure shape your legal approach?
Oh, I think that is something which I am absolutely kind of I'd be indebted to those multifaceted industries actually, because Amir, see, the first and foremost thing as a lawyer, if you see in today's context, it is not about only working as a legal counsel. Your job in today's context to work more as a business counsel. Now, how you help the business to grow, how you help the business to shape up, and how you help the business to strategize in the best possible manner. Now, if I take your question, so when I worked with organizations like FMCG, retail, and all, so one of the if I go by sector wise, if I talk about FMCG mainly deals with lot of regulatory compliances, labor compliances, and if you are into manufacturing, so you have to see all those plant compliances and all and all. So I have worked with a tea sector, a tea company actually. It's a beverage sector. So they have a lot of regulatory compliances in terms of plants, labors, industry specific compliances and all. So that shapes your thinking in terms of how this entire kind of industry works. Cut across to say ITS sector. So basically this sector is more into from your technology perspective, more from your regulatory perspective in terms of special economic zones. And if it's a global company, so obviously you have global compliances in terms of how you are kind of structuring your framework in terms of the ITS piece. So that's another kind of understanding you get. Now cutting across to say a global consultancy firm like PwC and UI, where I've worked with. So basically, there your company is not only your client; you have multiple clients. Probably you'll be working with a pharmaceutical company. At times you'll be working with the IT company, or at times you'll probably work with a manufacturing company. So that gives you a 360-degree view of how you kind of work around, what knowledge you get, and how your understandings are. And cutting across to my current organization, which is in the fintech space, which is more into regulatory piece, more into heavy regulations, compliances, and all. So when you kind of put all these things together, so you get a clear mindset of how your legal or your industrial or industry specific experiences is shaping your legal career, and then you decide and take actions accordingly. So that is how this entire kind of structuring
Wow,
is here.
beautiful. That was a legal approach. Now let's go to the leadership approach. You have led teams across India and global geographies.
Yeah.
What's your leadership mantra when it comes to legal and compliance work?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most repeated and most interesting, and it is a question which is very close to my heart, I would say. See, I think there have been a lot of arguments and debates about whether a leader is born or a leader is kind of made. So that I think this jury is still out. But the fact of the matter is, so different people have different kind of approaches in how they take up leadership. For me, the first and foremost thing which I try to inculcate in my team, and what I have also experienced from my previous exposures with different people working together, different leaders and all, is that first and foremost there has to be a clarity of purpose.
Yeah.
Because if a leader is not clear, exactly what he wants to get out of his team or extract out of his team, then probably the ball doesn't roll. So clarity of purpose is the first thing I will say. Number two, communication. So if you have to get a particular matter or a particular project done or kind of an assignment to be completed, you have to communicate it very effectively. And your communication should be such that that person gets that communication and he or she goes for the implementation phase. That's the second part. Third thing is, which I think is one of the most important areas, is with respect to empowering the team. Because if you assign a job, if you delegate a job, and if you start micromanaging, then it doesn't happen, because you are not then utilizing the potential of that person. So you have to have a very clear strategy in terms of giving that empowerment, and see that that person, he or she, is responsible enough to handle. And the fourth piece is the accountability part. Like if somebody is made account, if somebody has been given some responsibilities, now that person has to be made accountable. I think these are the four pillars which I consider as a part of my leadership skill. Yeah.
Wow. So let's go memory down the lane. You have handled complex M&A and restructuring matters. Can you walk us through one such high stakes moment that taught you a lasting lesson?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. Uh, See, Amir, so I the way I would like to put it is that there have been number of instances, a number of examples I can quote where I faced, or probably my team faced, issues which was very difficult to handle, and we came through and we sailed through. So it will be difficult to pinpoint all those cases, but one or two which is kind of, which I can remind of at this point of time, was with respect to one of the mergers and amalgamations in one of my earlier companies. So at that point of time, there was no NCLT thing. It was prior to 2016. So it was all High Court approved schemes and all. So we got a scheme drafted, placed before High Court, and we got the requisite approvals from shareholders in terms of getting that scheme through. And the requirement was around 75% of shareholders' approval and all. But when we went to the court and we sought judge's approval and all, so an honorable judge came with the fact that no, it should be around 100% approval, not even 97% approval. So there was a challenge. So we had to kind of take that head on, and then we had to close that matter. So that was one. On the slum cell piece, like in one of my earlier companies, the IT company, so we had kind of incorporated subsidiary, a global subsidiary in India, and the objective was to transfer the business of the Indian subsidiary into that global subsidiary. So there was a lot of kind of to and fro things which were going with RBI and the regulator and all. Finally, we got succeeded. But the challenge what I face is that just to convince those global investors and global team, because they were not very much aware of how the things shape up here in India. So we had to make them aware, and how what are the things and challenges what we faced, and finally got the matter done. So that was the second piece. And the last piece what I was just wanted to kind of allude to you was with respect to one restructuring business acquisition what we are planning to do a few years back, where we were trying to do it as share purchase agreement and all, and we are very happy due diligence were being done and all. But in due diligence, we found some of the aspects which were not giving a right signal to us. Then we maneuvered through it, and we got the things done, and everything was sorted in terms of shareholding and all those kind of stuff. So yeah, so I can pick up these 3-4 examples at this point of time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Debasish, data privacy and ESG are buzzwords today, but you have been engaging with them deeply. What's your personal framework or philosophy when it comes to these?
Very relevant question, Amir. And I think this is something which every lawyer, every governance professional is kind of grappling with these issues and challenges day in and day out basis. I'd like to take a little bit of time on this to give my context on this two particular very important topics. So let me start with the data privacy piece first. Now, see, data privacy piece in India basically got the momentum from the Supreme Court judgment of 2017, what you call as the Puttaswamy judgment. And then we took almost 4 to 5 years to have the draft law in place and all, multiple deliberations, multiple discussions and all. GDPR was also in place by then and all. So finally, we got to see the light of the day in 2023 when the act was framed. We are still waiting for the rules to be notified and all. That's a second piece. So that we'll see how soon it evolves. Now, the most important aspect of data privacy. So if I talk about the data privacy piece, like the way the things are shaping out now, so every individual are responsible for the way they manage their data, whether the data is compromised, whether they are maintaining or protecting their data properly or not. If I see from organization perspective, and if I take my current organization, so our role comes in the data privacy piece in two folds. Suppose we are a data fiduciary and we take data from data principals. So what are the checks and balances? What kind of consent framework we do? What purpose limitation structuring what we have? Whether we are given the proper notices or not? What are the data breach processes? What we are following? Whether me from the legal team are closely working with, say, the InfoSec or the information security team to see that how the data breach are not happening in the organization. So as a data fiduciary, your responsibility becomes immense because most of the liabilities, majority of the liabilities are on the data fiduciary. But if you see from the data processor part, so if I take the data, or if someone, a data fiduciary gives me the data and I process the data, then I have to see that I am kind of safeguarding my contracts, my organization through the contracts, tight, watertight contracts and all, and having a proper structuring so that the liability doesn't come to us. And the data fiduciaries are aware that like data processors are liable up to this piece. So I think those structurings, as a legal, as a governance professional, those structurings are extremely important. And the third piece, obviously, you need to see that you are not compromising the data and all, which is extremely essential, especially organizations which uses chatbot as a model and all, where the data compromise and data leakages happen quite frequently. So that is from the data privacy part and all. As the law evolves, so definitely we'll get more clarity on this. From the ESG perspective, I think if you see, this is one area where in India, especially apart from listed companies where you have a BRSR reporting and all, most of the unlisted companies, they are not regulated yet as far as ESG framework is concerned. But yet, Amir, you will find that most of the discussions, the debates and deliberations happen on ESG. So there is a good reasons for it because you have,
we also did
absolutely,
a panel discussion on ESG.
panel discussion on ESG.
Debasish Bharat, then Sonal Verma and Shashwata
Yes,
Banerjee.
yes. So absolutely. So see, if I break it up, so three parts to it: the environmental, the social, and the governance part. Now, if I talk about the environment part, so companies which are more into, say, more into polluting nature, so chemical industry, other industries, so obviously they need to be very mindful of how they are utilizing those environmental factors. Now, you talk about the greenhouse gas emission, you talk about the other global policies in terms of, I think there was a Paris climate and all those things which happened last few years back. But say from a tech perspective, I will see the environment part more with respect to carbon emission norms. Probably if you see, if you are putting an additional page on the website, that also becomes a ESG concern. So you have to be very mindful of what you are putting in there. So from the environmental perspective, and rest of the things what you do, whether you are using a glass, whether you're using a plastic or other stuffs and all, that is something which is need to be mindful from the environmental part. From social part, see, we have a regulation like what we talk about the corporate social responsibility. CSR is mandated, you know. So the corporate social responsibility takes a large part or takes care of a large part of the social contributions and all. But the second part to it is more on the DEI part, the diversity, the equity, and the inclusions. And if you see, the corporate sector is really kind of giving a lot of emphasis on those things. If you talk about LGBTQ, talk about women representation, if you talk about diversity in the board and the employees and all, that becomes extremely important from the DEI part, which is most of the companies need to follow. And the last part is obviously the inclusion part, which I've just mentioned, that there has to be a semblance, a balance between the male, female balance. So that is from the S part of it. Finally, the G part, as being a lawyer and governance professional, we have to be mindful of the G part, because see, the moment we talk about G, it talks about the corporate governance. And if you see the corporate governance, the shaped up in India, the way it has shaped up in India, right from Cadbury Committee report in 1992 to 2025, where you came across your Sarbanes-Oxley Act, your Satyam Matter, your Companies Act, all those changes, regulations, revisions, and all. So we have come to a standard now where we can say that we have a proper framework and all. But it is all about intention. It's all about the ethics and all relating to it. So that is the way this entire ESG piece has developed. So just to conclude on this point, to your point with respect to the importance of data privacy and ESG, I think this is something which is going to be there for next couple of decades.
Yes.
And we as governance and legal professionals need to be very wary of, need to be mindful of the way we use it. Yeah.
Wow. So, thank you for leading to my next question as you shared about the chatbot.
Yeah.
With the rise of AI and automation, how do you see legal tech reshaping governance, risk, and compliance in the next 5 years?
I think in the next 5 years, what we are seeing from today, there is going to be a tectonic shift in the way we approach. We means the legal governance and entire fraternity approach, the AI and the automation tools. There is a cliched line which I'd like to say is that like the lawyers, the governance professional, or the compliance professionals who use AI and tech or automation for that matter is going to replace the lawyers or governance professional who don't use that. So that's something is it's very clear. So the fact of the matter is, in today's context, as a lawyer or as an in-house professional, you have to have the best of both the worlds in order to give a right direction and strategy to your board and your company. The classic case being, probably we were discussing just before this session also, how you're managing your contracts, how you're managing your compliances, and how you are doing your legal research, or for that matter, the litigation management. Gone are the days where we just used to sit and just to reframe policies or frame policies of how you can handle it manually. Because the way the things are shaping up now, you need to use the right automation tools, right technology for your organization so that it gives you an edge and you can settle matters at a much lesser time than what you used to take through manually. So that's a no-brainer. You need to have a proper use of technology as well as manual intervention in doing that. And while doing so, artificial intelligence takes a huge role, because if you see the trends now, whether you use a predictive AI or whether you use a generative AI, that is something which is going to give you a big boost in terms of understanding your requirements and how that particular tool is going to help you. The only catch is, when you use an artificial intelligence tool, you have to be mindful of what kind of data it throws at you, whether the
Yes.
data or most of the things are hallucinated data, or whether that is something which is not ethically correct. That is a kind of balance what you need to see, and it's the responsibility of a governance and legal professional that there is a semblance or there is a right kind of a balance between AI use, the intellectual property use, and the data privacy use. So if you manage it, I think AI is something, or the automated tools are something which is going to be a huge enabler for the next couple of years.
Wow. Beautiful. So, Debash, can you share a time when you had to balance legal connectedness and with business practicality?
I think almost all the time, I was in that way, because the whatever sector you work, be it the IT or the GRCs or GCCs or the FinTech or for the manufacturer for that matter, there are areas where your senior management will come to you and ask you, "Hey, Debasish, this is something what we are planning to do. Give us your thought." Now, it's a very sweet spot, Amir. So I would say rather it's a sweet spot where you have to balance the legal implications as well as the business expectations.
Yes.
Now, for those matters, when they reach out to you, the first thing what I always try to follow is that, like, what are the expectations from the management on this particular topic? Say, for instance, we are going to acquire an entity, or for that matter, we are going to do a restructuring, or for that matter, we want to onboard a private equity investment, or so on and so forth. So you have to see first and foremost what are the business objective for that. Number one. Number two, where your legal interpretation, legal inputs comes into picture. So the moment you have the business strategy and legal interpretation comes, your third objective would be to see that whether there is a proper coherence and a balance between the two. If you find that there are areas where probably there is a legal embargo or there are some challenges which are coming out, then you have to find a way and to advise your management, fine, this is what we have decided, this is the X route what we have decided, but there are certain challenges what we are finding in the X route. Why can't we explore Y route? where you'll have a more seamless kind of a movement where the legal interpretations are very clear, and then we can find a better solutions to it. So it is a balance what you need to make. But as a lawyer, as a governance professional, you cannot just get yourself stuck to the legal provisions and complications. You have to give a proper business advice, and that is where I call up the sweet spot.
Ah, beautiful. So let's go to your journey of being a keynote speaker and a thought leader. How did it start? That is my first question. Second is, how important is public legal education and narrative building?
I think this is a very, very interesting question actually, and I think it is for all those who want to be a kind of a keynote speaker or be a part of sessions and all. See, I have few inputs around that, and my thought processes. Would like to share my thought process around that. Uh, so Amir, before I became a panel speaker or keynote speaker or thought leader, uh, which I have been doing for last 2 to 3 years. I have participated in a lot of conferences, summits across India as an attendee. So my seeds were sown in those conferences and all.
Yeah.
And the very objective of attending those conferences were is not only for the purpose of knowledge enhancement. Knowledge enhancement was one of the objectives, but my major objective was to see that what are the interpretation what the speakers are providing. So there used to be a scenario where I found like a speaker is talking which is more bookish in nature, which is more theoretical, which is not making much sense. And then in the second session, there is someone who is giving practical insight. So I always thought of these things. And that is something which I've always applied when I speak and go to a forum and be a part of, all those sessions and all. See, predominantly one thing I have always realized is the nature of inputs what you are giving in those seminars, conferences and all becomes extremely important. And it happened to me by accident actually. In one of the forums reached out to me way back in 2023, saying ki, like we want to invite you as a speaker on a particular topic. That was something on legal technology, something like that. So I was very happy. I went there and all. But the moment I started giving my thoughts and all, I realized that the sessions which I have attended as an invitee or attendee, that has really helped in order to carry forward with my session speakings or being a moderator and all. And so far in last 2 to 3 years, I think I have covered the length and breadth of the topics.
Wow.
As a legal and governance profession. I spoke on legal technology, I've spoken on AI, blockchain, your IoT, I've spoken on white collar crimes, I've spoken on your data privacy or governance measures and all. And I always feel that whenever I go there, it's always a value addition for me, because it's not only about what I am talking, it's also about the inputs what I'm getting from other speakers. So by being receptive, I am becoming more enhanced, and my knowledge are getting enhanced. And that's something which I'm also applying in day-to-day things in my organization. So I think it is extremely important to come back to your question, because it shapes your thought process.
Yeah.
It shapes your overall development, and that is something what you can apply in your day-to-day life also. And anyone who wants to be a speaker going ahead and all, have a good command over the subject, be fluent in your communication, and be very practical and specific to the points. I think these are the key things what I've realized in my sessions so far.
Wow. Okay. So my next question, what are some underrated qualities of a good general counsel in today's fast changing regulatory landscape?
I think these are all heavyweight questions what I am getting, but yeah, these are most important questions, Amir. And I'm quite happy that you are asking these questions. Probably through your forum, probably I'll be able to share some of my thoughts, which is going to be helpful for future generation lawyers and governance professionals. As I have just stated a few minutes back, and I'd like to reiterate, the most important aspect for someone who wants to be an in-house counsel, for that matter, or general counsel, whatever nomenclature you give, is that in today's context, there cannot be any kind of a role. You cannot grow in your role unless you understand business. So it is more of a business counsel that what you need to be first and foremost. You understand the business. I also tell my team to spend more time on understanding the finer aspects of the business, and then you apply those legal technology or legal applications into that business. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that you have to have that upskill, reskill, and developing oneself kind of a strategy going ahead, probably in 6 months, 1 year, 3 months time, and all. So you have to really upskill yourself in order to see yourself as a good in-house counsel. Might be through some courses, might be through some sessions, whatever way it might be. So that's the second thing. The third thing is that, like, there would be challenges if you are in-house counsel or general counsel. So what is your risk appetite? How you are handling those challenges, and what best possible advice you are giving to board? Because the moment you become closer to the board and the senior management and all, your path would be much more clear. So come with a clear and a very open mindset, upskill and reskill yourself, understand the business in the best possible manner, and always have a positivity around the stuffs what you are doing. So that is, those 3 to 4 things I think would be extremely important, considering the volatility what we are seeing in today's context, where you are moving from a VUCA world, which is volatile, uncertain world, to a BANI world, which is brittle and anxious and all. So you have to be mindful of those factors, understand the scenarios, understand the technology, because in today's context, regulation cannot stop innovation. So innovation and regulation should go hand in hand. So the technology needs to be understood also. So it's a whole fulcrum, or the entire aspect what you need to understand in order to become a good in-house counsel.
Beautiful. So my last question, I was reading an article on General Counsel versus Chief Legal Officer.
Yeah.
Can you throw some light between for viewers out there and young legal professionals who want to enter the world of corporate legal, difference between GC versus Chief Legal Officer?
Yeah.
How it prevalent the role is in Indian context? Is it for the international context, the CLO?
Yes. No, I think this is another very interesting question, Amir. It's rather the other way around, as you mentioned. So GC is something which has come more from the West. So if you see, they call themselves as the general counsels and all. Most of the US firms, or the firms if you find in UK and other Europeans, they come with a concept of GC. And so India, I think they have picked up the term in last couple of years. And they have kind of, that particular term has grown, and I think it went beyond went beyond proportion. Now, as you have asked, the role of the chief legal officer, what you call as a CLO, and the GC, it is quite similar. Now, it is all about nomenclature. So at times it might be a director legal, it might be head legal, it might be a CLO, it might be a GC. The role remains same, that if you are a chief legal officer of a company, your responsibility is to see that you are looking into all the aspects of the G, R, and C. That is the governance, the risk, and the compliance. So when you are handling the entire aspects of governance, risk, and compliance, you are giving a comfort to your management, your board, that all the aspects have been looked into, and they are the persons or the professionals, who gives that confidence to the board and whoever might be, the independent directors and all. So to answer your question, they are similar in nature. Nomenclatures may be different, but their role involves a wider gamut. It might be from the board perspective, from the shareholder perspective, from the contract management perspective, from the intellectual property rights perspective, the data privacy aspects, the alternative dispute resolutions, your using of AI or say blockchain, if you talk about any specific industries, the blockchain technology. So how you are using or adapting technology, what are the areas what you are looking into, and how you are giving comfort to the board. It varies from industry to industry. The major object remains same.
Beautiful. Let's go to the next round and understand Debasish as a person. Tell us about your family and your formative years.
Yeah, so I think so basically it's a kind of a thing, like after doing the heavy duty, you come to the professional to the personal aspect of it.
Yes.
See, to give my background, actually, I come from a very remote part of India. So I was born and brought up in Northeast, in Assam, actually.
Mhm.
So upper part of Assam. So my father was there in the oil industry, and so I grew up there in a town in Assam, actually. So well, you like when you stay in a kind of smaller kind of a town, so you form a very good bonding with people around you, because with your classmates, with your neighbors, with your playing buddies and all, so that bonding is still there. So that is something which I really cherish, because see, I did my I was there in that part till my 10 plus 2. So after I did my 10 plus 2, then I got shifted to Calcutta, and then things happened. So as I've said, my I think my initial the primitive years, my initial years, my family had a huge influence on me, especially my father. See, he always had one thing in his mind, ki like, whatever you do in life, don't take unnecessary pressure on yourself and be cool. So things will move as per the plans and all. So you have to be mindful of that, and without taking unnecessary additional pressure and all. So that has influenced me a lot in my thought process and things and all. My mother was a homemaker, and she's like, she has always helped me in terms of grooming years, in terms of understanding and all. And all the ecosystem there, my family and the support system, everything was really helpful. So yeah, obviously my childhood days, my primitive days, had a huge influence in wherever I am now, and I am thankful to each and everyone for that. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So you shared from the personal side, who has been your influence or biggest supporter.
Yeah.
Now let's go to your professional journey. Who has influenced you from the corporate legal world?
So Amir, there is no single one that I would like to pinpoint over here. So there is no individual person that person has influenced me in that way. There have been all my reporting managers, all my bosses with whom I have worked so far in my 22 years of professional journey, and at a different points of time, they have left a lasting impression on me. So while I was working with a company, with a tea organization and all, yeah, so I was reporting the group director, CFO there, and he always made one thing very clear, like, when you are a professional as a company secretary, you sign a lot of documents and all, be responsible for that, and go through the documents clearly, understand it. So he inculcated a kind of understanding that you have to read, you have to
Yes.
go through the pieces before you commit something. So that has left a lasting impression on me.
Beautiful.
I think it's a combination of good bosses as well as bad bosses what has shaped my career
You're
so
saying an
far.
open forum, huh?
So that's something which has helped me. But yeah, it's all a learning process.
I know.
You all, it's also an experience, actually. So that has shaped my career. In one of my companies, one of my bosses has kind of gave me the practical inputs and how your mind can shape your thoughts,
Yeah.
because it all comes from mind.
Yes.
So how you use that and how you kind of apply practically, that has helped. And even in my current organization also, my reporting manager, my MD, is very supportive in terms of the responsibilities she kind of puts in me, and the empowerment what she gives. So I think at different places, different managers have shaped up my thought process and all, without naming one individual. I think it's a collaborative effort and collective effort, what I'd like to
Nice
put.
one.
Yeah.
So, Debasish, is there a hobby or passion outside of law that helps you disconnect and recharge?
Three things. First and foremost, I am a music buff, so I like to listen to musics and all kinds of music. So at one point of time, I've listened to, say, classical music, Indian classical music. Second point of time, I listen to Western classical music, the Bollywood numbers, the ghazals, everything. So I'm a music buff. So like after office, if I go and do some work, there has to be some music which has to be there. At different time of the day, I prefer different. But obviously, when you are office, you can't listen to music. But yeah, once you are done with your work and all, then when you're returning home, when you're sitting for something and all. So that's one that gives me a huge unwind. Second thing is my family. So I think my wife, my son, as he is also growing up, so he gives me a lot of kind of say, basically it's not only unwinding, so it's also kind of reshaping my thought and putting my foot
Yes.
feet firmly on the ground. So that really helps. And thirdly, obviously, reading. So I read a lot. I try to read different kind of literatures and all, fiction, non-fiction, biographies, your scientific stuffs or economic things and all, dailies also, like whatever dailies I go through, I read it in details actually. So
Wow.
all these things have shaped up my thought process, and I'm really happy to get myself unwinded through that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what's a recent book you're reading and why?
Yeah. Currently, I'm reading the autobiography of Steve Jobs. So this is something which is quite intriguing, which is quite fascinating. And although there are a few pages and few chapters yet to be read, but I think that shows the maverick genius what Steve Jobs was actually. Like, he did something at that point of time which probably the world is now reaping the benefits. And how his kind of downfall, like when he was thrown out of the company, he started something else, and again he was brought back as CEO. That's a fascinating story. So I'll definitely like to tell everyone that at least whenever they get an opportunity, go through that, like
Yeah.
autobiography. So that's
Beautiful.
interesting.
So, Debasish, if your friends had to describe you in 3 words,
Yeah.
what would they say?
Devashish is always supportive. He never says no. So that is what I would like to put.
Wow. Okay. Suppose you had 1 week away from gadgets, away from the work. What would you do and why?
I'll take my family, I'll take my wife and my son, and I'll just travel somewhere. It might be seas, it might be mountains, it might be anything, just to have a time with my family
So
and all.
suppose you had that opportunity in 2025. Where would you take them?
Uh, I see, the destination is something which is not important to me. The most important aspect is that I'm spending time with my family and unwinding and all. It might be anywhere. It might be a Singapore, or might be a Sri Lanka, or might be in very much in India. So that's absolutely fine. So the venue and the destination is fine. That's a secondary thought. But yeah, it's spending more time and all, and that is something which is more important to me.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So since you're from Assam, so
Yeah.
someone wants to visit
Yeah.
Assam.
Yes.
What would you recommend to visit and have food over there?
Yeah. So if you are visiting Assam, there are a couple of places where you must go. I'll come to the food aspect later on. First and foremost, so you land in Guwahati. So Guwahati is the capital and the base of Assam, and you visit the Kamakhya temple and some other temples. Kamakhya temple being the famous, and do a good amount of shopping, local foods, cuisines, and all. Then from there you visit your Shillong. So Shillong is hardly 2 hours drive from there. It's basically it's a confluence of what they say is the magnificent seven sisters thing and all, and you have some of the best your falls. So visit places, Shillong Peak and all those things. Shillong is one of the must visit places. One should go to Kaziranga, so the natural habitat and all. So Kaziranga is one area, and this is from the lower part of Assam. And if you go to upper part, then you have the places where you have oil machines, oil drilling stations, and then from there you can visit Arunachal Pradesh and all. So a lot of places to cover. So that's from the places where you should go. As far as food is concerned, see, basically I'm a Bengali, so there are a lot of similarities between Assamese and Bengali food culture and all. So they also like to have their rice, dal, and all those fish and all. So that's what they call. And one of the things what they make is fish. It's a tangy fish. So they call it in Assamese language is called fish tanga. So tanga means it's with tangy kind of a taste and all. So that is quite famous there and all. So I think these are the things. It's completely unwinding yourself and visit the tea gardens. If you get an opportunity, lush green tea gardens and all, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Wow. So what are your plans for 2025 personally and professionally?
See, basically, it's not about only 2025. So when I try to make a plan, I try to see that at least what next 3 to 5 years is in hold for me. So professionally at this juncture, so I'm quite contented, I would say. So that's one thing. From personal development side, obviously, I'd like to be part of more such conferences, seminars, and all, so that I can have my understanding points made very clear. Then be a part of all those networking skills and understanding all the nuances which are happening around me in terms of the legal space, the tech space, and the field and the areas or the sectors where I'm in. Uh, Travel more places, obviously. So I'm an avid traveler, so like to see more places and all, both national as well as international. Read more books. So the objective is to cover one book in a month, or at least I have 12 books in a year. So reading more and spending and giving more quality time with family. So that would be my both personal as well as professional goals. So that's what I would like to state at this point of time.
Beautiful. So my last question is googly one. Describe Debashish in one line.
Debashish is a very positive person with a very good sense of humor. So this is what I'd like to say.
Wow. So let's go to the next round, the rapid fire, and put you in the
Sure.
hot seat.
Sure.
Your go-to comfort food.
It's quite challenging because I have so many go-to comfort foods. But yeah, it's homemade good food. I would say like rice, and it might be rice and dal, or it might be anything like your a simple your chapati with curry and all. So that's it. Yeah, if I talk about more, so my tastes, my one of my things like most favorite food always is biryani. So biryani is always something which I always welcome.
ESG or data privacy? Is which one is toughest to implement?
I think both are tough, but if I to answer you, I think data privacy at this context is more tougher to implement than ESG. Yeah.
Wow. Morning meetings or late night brainstormings?
I would prefer a morning meeting rather than late night brainstormings. Yeah.
Wow. Kolkata food or Mumbai street snacks?
That's a tough one. Since I've spent most of my formative years in Calcutta, so I cannot ignore Calcutta foods. So, and Mumbai is something which I'm still exploring because I'm here for last 2.5 years. So yeah, so based on that, I'll prefer Kolkata food.
Wow. One quote you live by?
I think I already alluded that quote, and that this is something which has become a principle for me. And in fact, I would also like to tell you where I have heard it first. So this was long back. I heard it from Mr. Pramod Bhasin. He was the CEO of Genpact at that point of time. So the quote which always instills in my mind, there are two quotes. The first one is from Pramod Bhasin, is that it's all in mind, because how you shape your mind, that sets your base. And the second one, which I religiously follow, this is from the great Swami Vivekananda, is that arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached. I think these are two quotes which are always there with me.
Wow, beautiful. M&A deal or corporate governance reform? What excites you the most?
I think an M&A deal excites me more because there are more shades and challenges than a corporate governance reform, which is more or less settled now with challenges as it comes. But yeah, M&A deal, there are a lot of uncertainties, a lot of things to learn, and also I will go by an M&A deal.
Wow. So this is a tricky one. One word of what you're feeling when you get to know, okay, you have won the Great Indian General Counsel Leader Award in 2025.
It's more of a reassuring that I'm on the right path, and it's a validation that I'm doing good work. So that is how I'd like to put.
Wow. Your favorite color?
I would say blue.
Tea or coffee to recharge?
Coffee.
That's nice.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So you did well, and here's your book.
Thank you, Amir. Thanks a lot.
It has been autographed. I know you will crack it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. And it was a wonderful session.
So friends, it was a lovely conversation having with Debasish Roychowdhury on a Sunday Saturday afternoon. So all those young legal professionals who want to enter the corporate legal team and know about GRC, the governance, risk, and compliance. This episode because he has worked in legal, multiple industries from FinTech, ITS, and so many things, and now at ISG, where it is the FinTech solutions for B2B. So that is a very what do you say, action oriented, like FinTech is in demand. And so if you want to be a keynote speaker, thought leader, listen to Debasish. There are many other coffee speakers who have been thought leader, keynote speakers, have been what do you say, visiting faculty. So don't limit yourself to work only. Explore, become a thought leader, so people know you. This is what CoffeeCon is all about: creating a platform for all those coffee speakers to share their knowledge, expertise. It is what do you say, e- uh, knowledge forum, IP. One of the coffee speakers said, "Okay, by you have what do you say, curated content menu. So just click subscribe to the Coffee Conversation, click on the curated content menu, and you will get to see 450 speakers where you can connect, learn, and explore collaborations. And if you want to be featured, like Debashish, who had an opportunity to do in person, visit our LinkedIn page or company website, the Emerging India Forum, and or connect with our 450 coffee speakers to put in a word to invite you, because in person are given to privileged people who have reached a certain stage in their life. uh, we have gone international also. We have done a panel discussion. Do watch out. We'll be doing a panel discussion with Debashish and other GCs from the fintech industry, because this is more of what do you say, buzz industry. We'll get to learn many more insights. So keep watching, and we will be doing a panel discussion like we did for Mother's Day, for Father's Day. So we have done various panel discussion on ESG, because we need to acknowledge the contribution of a father in family and career. So stay tuned. We meet with another coffee speaker or cup of coffee. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.